we'll start with some simple stretching. We're going to take our fingers, interlace them, take them over our heads, and we're going to turn to the left and back to the right. And when we go back to center, we're going to open up one side, I'll scrunch the other one, and then we'll reverse. All right, and now keep your fingers interlaced. We're going to lean over like we're touching our toes. As you do this, focus in on those tight spots. That'll help them loosen up. And bring yourself back up to vertical. And we're going to rock forward and back on the feet. You don't want to go so far forward that you put pressure on your toes or so far back that you fall. And bring yourselves back to center. We're going to bring our hands out and do gentle circles with the wrists. And reverse directions. Then turn your hands to the sides, and we're going to, our arms to the sides, and we're going to take the hands up and down. And forward and back. Next, we'll make gentle fists with our with our hands, and we're going to go in circles with those. And reverse directions. Okay, open your hands back up, and we're going to rotate at the elbows. And reverse directions. Next, we'll switch to the shoulder joints. And reverse direction. So we'll switch to, we're going to move to working on the shoulders, or the shoulder, or working with the shoulder blades to work on the shoulders. So lift up your shoulder blades, and lift them up in your back, and then drop them. And lift them up, take them back, and drop them. Next, we'll lift one side, drop it, then lift the other side and drop it. Now lift one side, take it back and drop, and then alternate with the other side. And reverse directions. Okay, so next we're going to work with the arms. Make sure you got a little bit of room to the side. You don't want to hit a television. We're going to swing our arms forward and back. We'll bring those the back of the hands and rest those on the hips. And welcome. I'm guessing that's Regina. And then we're going to we're in the middle of stretching. We're taking and got one hand on the hip, we're reaching across and gently pulling in the other arm. And then we'll switch sides. So just put back the other hand on the hip and draw the arm in. Now take that same arm, reach behind, rest it with the other one, and shift your weight in that direction. Bring yourself back to center. We're going to bring in the other arm, hold that, and shift all the way across in that direction. After you bring yourself back to center, we're going to take our arms, we're going to cross one over the other, bring them around. If you can bring the hands together, great. If you can only get to here without forcing, that's fine too. So we don't want to ever push ourselves to 100% with anything that we do in these stretches or in Tai Chi itself. And now we'll take and did we do the other direction? Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll switch that around. So we don't ever want to force anything in Tai Chi. That's like taking a rope with a knot that's already got a knot in it and a yank on it. Just tightens things up and does further damage. I'll bring those arms down. We're going to take one arm behind the head, hold it with the other hand. So as you're doing this one, be present to not scrunching up, tightening up your shoulders. Again, we did a fair amount of work earlier with loosening those up, and we don't want to reverse that, undo that. Next, we'll switch. So bring up the other arm. So next we're going to go on moving to working with the neck. So bring your head forward. You're looking to introduce a gentle curve to the back of your neck and open it up. And bring your head back up and back. So we're going to open up the neck through the chin, the cheekbones, around the eyes, and then through the forehead. Bring your heads forward, and now we're going to open up one side, so the left side. And then we're going to reverse and open up the other side. So while we're doing these various stretches, you can imagine that the skin of your body is like a balloon. We're letting that skin expand over the fluid that's flowing within. And bring your heads back to center. And we're going to turn our heads to the left and back to the right. So with the balloon, the thought of the balloon, you can imagine that the back of your neck is expanding as you rotate the head. And bring your heads back to center. We're going to do gentle circles with the neck. So this is another one. Be careful not to force this. You don't want to do damage to your neck while you're trying to loosen up. Just nice, gentle, small circles. And reverse direction. And bring your heads back to center. Now we're going to finish up the neck exercise by opening up one side and then opening up the other. And bring it back to our heads back to center, and we're going to do the same thing forward and back. So open up the back, then open up the front. Okay. Next, we're going to move to the midsection of the body. So if you bring your hands out in front, we're going to bring them up, and then as we go down, we're going to pump the backs of our knees. And bring yourself back to vertical. We're going to keep those hands in front. We're going to turn to the left, bring them up, turn to the right, and drop them down. And reverse directions. When you get back to center, we're going to open up one side, lean back as we open the back, and open the other side. So we're going around in a circle. And reverse directions. And bring yourself back to center. Now we're going to work on the hips. So you want to find something where you got some support. Let's see. Turn the camera down so everyone can see this a little better. All right, so we're going to start by taking the outside leg. We're going to swing it out and around. So the foot's going in a circle. And reverse directions. Okay, when you get back to center, we're going to lift the knee up, around, and down. So the knee's going in a vertical circle. Our focus, though, is going to be in the hip joint, looking for those tight spots, helping it to open up, and reverse directions. Then we're going to swing the leg forward and back. So this motion here is a lot like we normally do, but when I do the next one where I swing my leg out to the side from and back, that's pretty unusual for us. The hip joint is designed to go in a lot of directions. Bring your leg forward and swing it to the side. So what we're doing here is we're trying to restore that motion, loosen things up so they flow again in our hip joints. And now we're going to switch around to do the other side. So take that outside leg, the other leg, and swing that out and around. So we're doing a circle of the foot again. Switch directions. And when you get back to center, we're going to lift the leg up, open it up to the side, and bring it down. So the knee and the shin are going in a vertical circle. And switch directions. Next, we'll swing that same leg forward and back. Now draw it back and swing to the side. And draw it forward and swing to the side. Next, we'll go to working on the knees. So step away from whatever you're using to support yourself. Bring your feet together side by side. That's the best positioning for this move. We'll put our hands on our thighs, and we're just going to, again, pump the backs of the knees as we go down and come back up. Another way to think of this is it's like sitting down. And now we're going to take, and as we go down, we're going to bring our knees to the side and then back to center, and out to the other side and back to the top. So the knees are doing another vertical circle. And reverse directions. And when you get to the top, we're going to go straight down the middle. And as we come up, bring our knees out to the side and back to center. So with these exercises, we're wanting to move part of the reason we want to pump the backs of the knees is to not put stress on the kneecaps. Reverse directions. Kneecaps aren't actually designed for that. They're designed to protect the knees. When you bump into things, they're not designed to take the stress of moving your body up and down. All right, so we'll come back to vertical. Now we're going to work. We're going to work on our ankles. So we'll extend one leg out and do gentle circles with the ankle. And then we'll reverse directions. Next, extend that leg out and just let the weight rest on the tops of the toes. So you're opening up the top of the foot and the front of the ankle. Next, switch sides. So we extend out the other leg and do those gentle circles with the ankle. And if it feels like flopping, that's fine. It's definitely not something we do in normal day-to-day. And we'll switch and go the other direction. And then extend the foot out and let the weight rest on the tops of the toes. All right, so now we're going to finish off the Tai Chi stretching with some full body motion. So we're going to bring our hands up, and gentle fists, and as we pull our kidneys gently back to open up the back and curve the spine, we're going to bring the arms in. And bring yourselves back up to vertical. We're going to turn those hands out in front like we're hugging a big tree, and we're going to just turn the waist to the left. So when you're turning to the left like this, when you're rotating the waist, in Tai Chi, we're generally doing it by folding the tops of the legs. There's folds there where the torso meets the legs, and we're just folding those joints. Okay, bring yourself back to center. We're going to turn the other direction. And when you come back to center, keep going. Bring the front arm up and the back hand down. Back hand down. Bring yourselves back to center, and we're going to finish the stretching set by doing some gentle shaking. We're going to start by shaking the hands, the lower arms, the upper arms, the head and the neck, the upper body, down through the stomach, the waist, the upper legs, the backs of the knees, and down through the lower legs into the feet and the floor. And take a moment and recenter yourself. And we'll take a break to rehydrate. Let's see how we're doing. And, oh, that's much better. Okay. Pardon me, I was playing with the settings on there. They've updated Zoom, and a couple of things went wonky on me after the update. All right, great. So I think what I want to start with this week is actually just going through a review of what we've learned the last few weeks. Sorry, there's a very beautiful bird that's just perched right outside my window. I'm sure that has some significance. So I'm going to start by slowly reviewing the first, I believe it's 3 forms we've learned. Hopefully Regina will come back in shortly. Hope everything's fine with her children. So let's see, I'll go back up. So we'll start, just be aware where you are, that your feet are on the ground, that your weight is balanced inside and out, forward and back. Drop your tailbone and imagine a string pulling your head from above. That connection between the two, I usually talk about it as grounding ourselves and opening ourselves up. It's also an example of what we think of in Tai Chi as structural integration, that the lower and upper parts of our body are integrated. And I'll talk about that more throughout the practice. To begin the review, we're going to take our left leg, we're going to lift that heel up and sink our weight, pour our weight in the other foot so that we can bring that out. And we're going to go to about shoulder width and shift our weight over, recenter yourself. And we're going to lift our hands up. So imagine that ball, lifting your hands up to shoulder height, chest height, and push that ball back down to waist height. Next, we're going to do passing the ball. So we're going to start by pouring our weight into our right foot and forming that ball. So we'll form the ball with the hand on the same side as the weighted foot being on top. So those are actually, if you notice, we're making that opposite. We've got the integration there is we've got that top hand and the weighted leg are kind of our extremes to balance each other out. All right, so the next part of this one, we need to get in our position. We need to widen our stance. So we're going a bit wider than shoulder width. And as we pour our weight over there, shift our weight over there, we're just going to turn that ball over. This is called passing ball. And we'll finish the first version of this, first instance of this by bringing that foot in. And now we're just going to reverse that. We've already weighted on the outside. So we're just going to lift that foot up, bring it back out, and shift our way back as we turn the ball back over again. And bring the foot into finish. So that's passing ball, and we finish with our feet. The inside, the unweighted foot is pointed forward, and the other foot is turned out at 45 degrees. So that sets us up, we're actually right at the beginning of the next move, which is parting wild horse's mane. So that one involves a bow stance. So I should start by getting our foot positioned for that bow stance. Lift up the heel and turn out. And as we shift our weight and turn, so we're aligned with that foot, we're going to bring our hands past each other. The top hand will go straight down, and the other hand will come up and open up. So it's going to have that horse's mane. Then we're going to get ready to do that again the other direction. So we want to bring up the rear foot and the rear hand. And as we're doing that, we're going to turn both hands over. So we're again back in that starting position for parting wild horse's mane. We're holding that ball. And we'll actually do the move. So we're going to extend that foot out. So we're going to do the bow stance back to the right. And then as we shift our weight, we're going to bring our hands past each other about the horse's mane. Then the next one is a single whip. So we're going to the lower body, we're going to bring that foot up, and the hand that's behind, we're going to bring it up, but we're going to bring it up to the elbow, and we're going to just turn the hands over. So the hand by the elbow is turning palm up to guard the elbow, and the other one's forming a little beak. So single whip is also a bow stand step, so we'll just open that left leg up. And when we turn, we're just going to leave that beak hand behind. Turn with our hand, and when we're lined up, we're going to turn the palm out and shift our weight. And then we'll get ready to do the second single whip back to the right. Bring the hand, leg and the hand up. So we're going up by the elbow. Turn that palm over and form the beak. And we'll open up the waist, do our bow stance back. Turn the hand and the attention in line with that foot, and then turn the palm and shift forward. All right, so I'm going to pause right there. Any questions on those first three moves? We had the combination, the opening form and the passing ball. And we had parting wild horse's mane and the single whip. Everyone's good, okay. All right, so let me, before I teach the new form, I'm going to talk just a little bit more about the idea of structural integration. So I talked at the beginning, as a starting to review, about the dropping the tailbone and imagining a string pulling your head from above. In the Tai Chi classics, it actually talks about the spine as a string of pearls hanging from the head. That it's actually your body is descending down from that head, and that lets you visualize, your posture being very vertical. So for me, I've got scoliosis that runs in the body. If my body wants to do this, imagine that string pulling above. My body's going to shift into a very different stance. The other element I talked about was the actual integration between the two parts of the body. So oftentimes the lower part of the body and the upper party will balance. They'll be opposites, very much like the swirling Tai Chi symbol with the two teardrops around each other. So I mentioned this earlier briefly. When I've got my weight on this right foot, I've got a balance to that with the hand on the same part of the body being up. And then this other leg is unweighted. The hand that goes with it is brought to the center of the body. When I move in this one, I extend that foot out. I'm going to follow that with the hand. So I've got the weighting, the intention, the placement of the hand are all in alignment in this way, following my intention. And actually, it's a memorization trick. This is actually very useful because it's, okay, I'm going this direction. My hand and my foot are all going to go that direction. And in a number of them, as I've talked about, we actually bring our intention or our focus into it. So my hand's actually following that direction, even if my other hand was lagging a little. All right, so let's go on to the new move. This one's called Cloud Hands. And I'm gonna teach it a little differently. I'm gonna introduce it a little differently than we'll use it in the form. It feels, the way it's used in this short 8 form can feel a little awkward to me. So with this one, let's actually, give me a moment. Okay, so for this, I'm going to start with actually just leaving the lower body as it is. Bring your legs out about to shoulder width, maybe a little bit more. Turn your toes out a little bit so you're nice and stable. Now, then we're going to do a portion of the lower body. Take and shift your weight to the left and turn out. Now we're going to shift our weight. Excuse me, that was turning to the right. Shift your weight back to the left and then turn to face with that foot. Now we're going to pour our weight back and turn the waist. And then we're going to reverse that. Shift our weight back to the left and turn the waist. Let's just continue that. Actually ends up being a bit of a figure eight motion. And actually, depending on if you have been part of the Christian tradition, some dancing done during worship music can actually develop this motion. I've had churches where I realized that's what we were all doing. It's like, I'm flowing with the 1, 2, 3, 4 of the music. All right, so now let's bring ourselves back to center, and we're going to bring the hands into this. Let's see. Let's start by going to hold an even bigger ball out to the right. And we're going to just bring those hands past each other. And we're going to turn the body, turn the hands over, and bring them past each other. We'll just repeat that a little bit. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna change that move slightly. So at the start, I'm gonna bring those hands past each other, but the lower hand, I'm gonna turn it so the palm I'm looking at that palm. Now I'm gonna turn around, and then I'm just gonna do the opposite. So that hand, I'm gonna turn it down, turn it palm down and go down as I bring the other hand up to look at it. Then I'm gonna go across, rotate back. And that top hand's gonna turn down to go down, and the other hand's gonna turn towards my face so I can gaze at it as I come back across. As you practice this, it should actually become like a circular motion. So now I'm going to come back to this. Let's come back to the opening side, and I'm going to combine. Actually, let me ask questions on that lower and upper body portion. Anything that seems unintuitive, that's not making sense? All right, so with the lower body, let's go back, shift the weight over, and turn out. So my weight is over my right foot. I'm looking along my right foot. And I'm gonna get my hands. So my structural integration, my top hand is gonna be that same hand that I'm weighted on. And as I shift my weight, I'm gonna bring those hands past each other. And as I turn my waist, the hands are just kind of follow along with me. And when I get to the other side, I'm gonna shift my weight and combine that with a hand motion again. And then turn back. And let's just practice that. So let me pause everybody for a moment. So you've got this is, for me, this is one of the hardest ones to learn. Not the hardest, but probably the hardest in what we're doing. So this is a good one to practice over the course of the week. With your lower body, when you practice it as I'm giving it to you here, you're basically doing two things. You're shifting your weight and you're rotating the body. It's very, very simple. And for some of you, you've encountered this in music. So that's the lower body portion. And the upper body, again, it's that symbol, bringing the hands past each other and looking at that palm as you turn, and then bringing them past each other and turning back. You can add a lot of little details about it, but that's the essence of the movement right there, is those two body motions, that lower body shifting the weight and turning, and that upper body bring the hands past each other and watching that palm. Beyond that, a lot of it is just practicing this one repeatedly and letting it smooth out so that you've got more of a circular, or you end up with a somewhat of a circular motion. So let me pause again, and feel free to keep moving. Let me open up the floor for questions, if anybody has any questions about that practice form of this. Yeah, Susan, that's looking really good. So the one thing, if y'all see Susan, it's a little boxy the way she's doing it, and that's fine. But as you do this, let that become more circular. Don't force getting to there, but those turns of the hands will get smoother over time. But don't force yourself to think about that. Let it come naturally. There's a lot going on here, and you want to keep it simple, and then let the details work themselves out. All right, so let's go. Let's actually integrate that into the A form. So the first part of that, let's see, we did single whip. So we've ended up here. And the first is a transition. So I want to get into that classic, it's a classic triangular stance with my lower feet. And I want to bring my hands up into that, what amounts to a large oversized ball. So I'm going to just bring that front foot, that back foot up, swing that back hand down. And I've got that what amounts to a very large ball. It'd be about 6 feet around. I'm barely holding the edge of it, but that's your basic stance. Other than that, just being bigger. Then we're gonna do this one. We're gonna do it side to side. So I'm gonna bring that empty stance foot out to my left, and then I just do the form as I taught you. So we're gonna shift our weight and bring our hands. We're gonna turn. Now here, when we get to the turning or facing over the other foot, we're actually going to bring the foot in. So that trailing foot comes in. So we break out a chunk of the waving hands like clouds. Now we're going to move back. So we're just going to bring that foot back as we bring our hands past each other, shift our weight, and turn back and bring the foot in. So it becomes two pieces out of that larger motion. And you can also practice it this way. Just do that repeatedly with a foot motion. I think practicing the form I showed you initially is actually more fruitful as an independent practice, because it cements the kind of the flowing circular motion that's so natural to Tai Chi and so much part of the approach. And while you guys keep practicing that, I'm going to show you a twist. In other forms, what we'll actually do is it becomes a side to side. So you would actually bring that foot in. And you actually can move side to side across the room. So here essentially we're doing an abbreviated version of that. Since we're only doing two, we just come back to where we started. Let's see. All right.